Welcome to our lesson on addition and subtraction multi-step word problems. When deciding which operation you should use, there are a few key words you can look for. With addition, some words you might see are in all, altogether, sum, total, combined, or added to. With subtraction, a few key words you might see are difference, remains, subtract, minus, how many more, fewer, and less. It is important to know that these are not all of the words you might see for the operations. How to begin. The first thing you need to do is read through the entire word problem. Don't get too bogged down in trying to find all the key details and pulling them out. Next, you can read through the word problem a second time and slow down while reading it. Take your time. The third step would be to identify what is being asked, what you already know, and what you need to know. The fourth step is to simply solve the problem. And finally, reread the problem to make sure you really answered what was being asked. All right, so let's practice. Marissa and Joy had 20 boxes of candy bars to sell together. Marissa sold 6 boxes and Joy sold 11 boxes. How many boxes do they have left to sell? All right, so now let's figure out what we already know. We know they had 20 boxes of candy to sell together. We know Marissa sold 6 boxes and Joy sold 11. So we need to figure out how many boxes they have left to sell. Looking at our picture, we see all 20 boxes here that they had to sell. We know Marissa sold 6, so we can go ahead and mark those off. We know Joy sold 11, so we can mark those off. By using our picture, we see that there are 3 boxes left to sell. So now if I wanted to check my work, we know they had 20 boxes total. Marissa sold 6. Joy sold 11. We know 6 plus 11 equals 17. We know that we need to subtract this number from the total they had to begin with, which was 20. 20 minus 17 leaves us with 3 boxes left to sell. Let's look at another problem. Susan and Cheryl were picking red and pink roses. Susan picked 16 roses and Cheryl picked 9 roses. If 13 of the roses were red, how many were pink? Let's look at the information that we are given. We know Susan picked 16. We know Cheryl picked 9. If 13 of the roses were red, how many were pink? Okay, looking at our picture, we see Susan's roses are down here. All these are the 16 total. We see Cheryl's roses are over here, 19. So now we need to figure out the total that they picked together. Okay, 16 plus 9 gives us 25. We know of those 25, 13 were red, so we're going to subtract that number from our total picked. We know 5 minus 3 is 2, and 2 minus 1 equals 1, so that's 12. So how many were pink? That would be 12 roses were pink. To check our work, we can take the total, 13 and 12, and add those two together, and that gives us the 25 that they picked. All right, you try this one. Liz and Christy were picking tomatoes. Liz picked 6 more than Christy. Christy picked 12. Out of all of the tomatoes, 4 were bad. How many good tomatoes did they pick? It's important to pick out the key information. And you really need to look at what the question is asking. How many good tomatoes did they pick, not the total number of tomatoes. So let's look at this. We know Christy picked 12 and Liz picked 6 more than Christy. So adding those together, we now know that Liz picked 18 and Christy picked 12. Add those two numbers together add those two numbers together to get the total number of tomatoes they picked. That gives us 30. And remember, 4 were bad, so we have to subtract the bad tomatoes from the total number of tomatoes picked. 30 minus 4 equals 26, and that's the total number of good tomatoes that they were able to pick. Let's look at one more problem. Daniel and Jared went fishing. Daniel caught 7 catfish and 4 trout. Jared caught 3 catfish and 5 trout. How many more catfish did they catch than trout? There's a key phrase here, how many more? All right, so we know Daniel caught 7 catfish and 4 trout. Jared caught 3 catfish and 5 trout. We want to know how many more catfish they caught than trout all together. So we're going to add up how many catfish they each caught. Daniel caught 3. Daniel caught 7. Jared caught 3. That means there were 10 catfish. Then let's look at the number of trout. Daniel caught 4 trout. Jared caught 5 trout. That leaves us with 9 trout. And it says how many more catfish did they catch than trout. So we know they had 10 catfish, 9 trout. So to answer the question, they caught 1 more catfish than they did trout. That wraps up our lesson on addition and subtraction multi-step word problems.